So I just got out of The Substance, directed by Corley Fargeet. I hope I'm saying that right. And it stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. Now, hearing the reactions of this out of Cannes Film Festival, I got really, really excited. It's been one of my most anticipated films of the year. And all the reviews that I've listened to, just what everybody's had to say about it, I had to see it for myself. And also, I was a fan of her last film, Revenge, which I thought was very well done. If you guys have not seen Revenge, definitely check it out. I would probably recommend watching it before The Substance, because I do think The Substance is a better film, and her style is so unique. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what she does next. I'm tired. I'm going to try to say what I want to say throughout, this video without editing. I'm just so tired, but let's talk about it. The Substance is a strange film. Now, without spoiling anything, which it has a pretty simple premise. Demi Moore, she does this sort of exercise show, and Dennis Quaid is the manager, which he has, ironically, his name is Harvey. He's the producer of the show, I believe, or the showrunner. And essentially, Demi Moore is getting too old in his eyes, and he's looking for somebody younger, so he lets her go. She wants to be young again. She ends up getting this interesting drug, I guess you could say experimental drug, called The Substance, and it basically allows there to be a younger version of you. The only thing is you get 7 days with the younger version and then 7 days with you, so you have to switch, back and forth between 7 days, or there are some dire consequences. Now, that's all you need to know going into this film, because this film, if you see where it starts versus where it ends, you cannot really guess where it's going to go. And I love films like that. I just appreciated the hell out of this film. I just want to say that. And I love the opening. I don't want to spoil the opening, but it's such a interesting. The opening of the film is so simple. Like it's extremely simple, like very, very simple. But it really does do a good job of sort of explaining what it is the film is about before you go in. Like it's this ultimate red herring that just basically explains everything. And I don't want to spoil what it is, but it's so unique and it's so simple, but it's so impactful. And like I said, you're not going to expect where this film goes. The film is 2 hours and 20 minutes. I did not feel the runtime whatsoever. The film for me just flew by. I did hear from some people, they said it was too long, like 20 minutes could have been taken off. I think I was just so impressed with the cinematography and the editing. The editing in this film is what really stands out. The editing in this film is basically telling a story of its own. It is the sound design, the way that some of the shots are morphed together, the way that some of the practical effects are utilized in editing. It's all done very precise, where this film is literally the definition of a collaboration. I mean, you can see the love and the energy poured into this film from the performances, especially Demi Moore, who is fantastic. Of course, Dennis Quaid, I laughed my ass off at the very beginning of it. There's a specific scene where he comes up to the urinal, and the way that his face looks, it's so hilarious. But that was one thing that I really did appreciate about the film, is they just linger on shots. They don't worry about doing anything too crazy with camera movements. Like, it's usually, most of the time, the film is either just locked camera or there's handheld stuff going on. But when you do the still camera, the locked camera, there's a lot of very in a way, the film reminded me a little bit of kind of like Terry Gilliam and Stanley Kubrick's filmography, or cinematography, but it also has this very colorful flair. Like I got a little bit of Jacques Tati in it as well, and there's just so many different things. There's some David Cronenberg sprinkled throughout. It's so interesting, the direction that they take this. It is just very, and it's, like I said, the setup is simple. There's not really many locations, and a lot of them are just very extensive set pieces, like specifically the apartment. Like, I would probably say 50%, maybe a little bit more than 50% is set within the apartment. And then you have what I believe is doubling as LA, which I believe she filmed it in France, where it doesn't really show you LA. It shows you almost this, in terms of blocking and just, the coverage, it's very simplistic and it's very small, and a lot of stuff will be out of focus or they'll just show palm trees. So while it is a more simplistic approach, what it ends up doing is utilizing that style to its advantage and sort of giving it this sort of, I guess you could say, dreamlike effect, which was another thing that I appreciated, because it is sort of the definition of less is more at times, and I like that a lot. It's just, there's so many different themes, there's so many different things that you can look at, especially with age and beauty, and especially what, I would have assumed, women in a more talented oriented profession have to go through at times, and I think the film did a really good job of showing that. And I had seen somewhere where people were saying that men were caricatures in this film, basically, and that's the point. It didn't bother me as a dude, I thought it was great. I thought it was very funny. And I feel like to get your point across with this, you sort of do have to do something like that. I mean, if Dennis Quaid, his character, if he was just, this normal guy, that was just in front of the camera, it wouldn't work. He needed to be hyper stylized, to sort of get the point across. Because I think without that, the narrative kind of just probably would have crumbled. There's another specific part where I don't want to spoil anything, but Demi Moore is doing some cooking, and it's after a specific part, and the way that it's done so beautifully, to the point to where it was almost just a tad bit, I don't want to say elegant, but it was very, like, the way that it was handled, it was just so, I don't know, I got a weird feeling whenever I saw it. Me and my wife just looked at each other and we started giggling. Like, it was so funny. I loved it so much. The body horror in this film is the icky stuff, I guess you could say. The body horror is just top notch, really. It's probably some of the best that I've seen. I'm not going to lie, like, and I guess this is just a testament to what you can do with a lower budget, because I'm not exactly sure what the budget was for this film, but Terrifier's body is body horror, just the gruesome bits is just fantastic, so I mean, that's still, I don't know if it's my favorite, because the thing when you're working with practical effects, it's sort of it really just depends the style that you're going for, because there's some films that sort of go for this more, I guess you could say, more exaggerated style. Like, when I look at something like The Thing or The Fly, you can definitely tell that there's prosthetics, you can tell that there's makeup, but it still just looks really gross and it works. And then you look at something like more recently, I think, you look at David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, which looked pretty real at times. They did a really good job making that film feel very grounded in reality, and it just really depends on the style that you're going for. But I felt like the style for this film really did work. I feel like they used it to its benefit, and like I said, it was a full collaboration, because you have the performances, you have the very unique cinematography, you have the editing, you have the practical effects, you have the set design. It all feels like kind of lightning in a bottle. Like, it was just all executed very, very well. And one thing that I appreciated a lot is you could tell that during some of the, more extensive set pieces, with wardrobe and sets, like, you can tell that, the lighting was on point. You could tell that there was a lot of stuff going behind the cinematography. But then when you go outside and you're sort of just out there with Demi Moore or Margaret Qualley with the camera, doing the handheld stuff, it just looks all natural, and it just sort of adds like this interesting, there's sort of two sides of the coin, where, which again, this might not be how I, most people would interpret it, but it's how I do, where there's sort of the beauty inside the studio and the apartment, and then whenever you get out to, the city and stuff, there's sort of this very trashy feel to it, which they sort of do a really good job at whenever she's trying to go actually obtain the substance. You know, it's in this very sort of sketchy area. I mean, that's really the best that I can put it, but it just adds this extra layer of tension because, you know, it's there and you don't expect it to be there at first, and it was just executed so well. One of the things you're probably going to hear about, just to end this, one of the things you're probably going to hear about is the last 15 minutes of the film. It goes out there, like, I mean, it just does not let up. It does not stop. And for me, it wasn't as shocking and crazy as a lot of people were making it out to be, but it worked. It really did just work. Again, I loved it. I would probably say this is my second favorite film of the year. I think I need a rewatch. Right now, Challengers is still my favorite, but there's still a few more films coming out this year. And again, I would like to rewatch this film because I fucking loved it. It was great. But we still have Terrifier 3, you know, and we still have The Brutalist, Anora, which I'm super excited about, Megapolis. I feel like there's a few more films coming out, but yeah, it's been a very Queer from Luca Guadagnino, again, another Luca Guadagnino film. So yeah, there's some stuff coming out, but anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed The Substance. You should definitely check it out, especially if you're a fan of body horror, just something unique and different, you know, something original. Definitely give it a watch. But anyway, guys, take it easy. If you guys want to check out my link tree, you definitely can, where you can check out my filmography, some of the short films I've been working on. You know, you can put them on Letterboxd, log them on Letterboxd, what have you. It would mean the world to me, always trying to connect with new filmmakers. But anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.